Good evening and welcome everybody. Thanks for taking the time out of your night to join us for this public hearing. This is a public hearing for an application received by EGLE from Van Born Investments for a new concrete recycling facility in Wayne, Michigan. My name is Ryan Blazik. I'm with EGLE's Environmental Support Division. I'm just going to be your moderator for tonight's hearing. And I'll be walking you kind of through the hearing, through the process, through the agenda, which you'll see right in front of you. So what we're looking at here tonight is we're starting off with an introduction. That's what we're doing right now. A big thing to keep in mind is that tonight's hearing is going to be in two parts. We're going to start off with an informational session. And so what this will consist of is the applicant will have an opportunity, or the applicant's representative, to present information on the proposed project. We'll follow that up with a question and answer session, so you'll have an opportunity to ask questions related to this application. We'll explain how we'll do that in a little bit. And then the second part will be the official hearing. That's where you have an opportunity to make a statement for the record on this application, and that'll come after the informational session. And we're also going to cover other ways to submit an official comment in case you didn't want to make a statement tonight, and who you can contact with further questions. All right, just a couple logistical things in case you haven't joined us for one of these hearings before. All lines are going to be muted, so you will be able to hear us, but we can't hear you. That is until it's time to give your statement. You also have an opportunity to ask your questions out loud or verbally. We'll explain how we do that, but unless one of those two things are happening, we're going to keep your microphones muted. But you can communicate with us using the Q&A box in your Zoom toolbar. You can also ask questions, and we'll answer those questions during the Q&A period. And we'll explain how to do that a little bit later after the information session. And then also we are recording this hearing. This hearing is being recorded, and it will be posted on our YouTube channel in a couple days in case you wanted to watch it again or miss parts of it. All right, at this time, I would like to introduce our other EGLE staff who are on the line with me tonight to turn their cameras on and introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Richardson. I'm in the Water Resource Division, Warren District Office. I'm the local EQA for Wayne County.
Thanks, Ryan. My name is Andy Hartz. I'm the District Supervisor for the Water Resources Division Resource Unit out of the Warren District Office.
Thanks, Andy. I'm Pat Durek, Floodplain Engineer for the Warren Resource Office for Southeast Michigan.
And hello, I'm Ann Garwood. I'm Supervisor of the Wetlands, Lakes, and Streams Unit out of Lansing, Michigan.
All right, thank you all for those introductions. We're going to move ahead. Oops, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeremy. Go ahead.
And, we're here tonight because Van Born Investments, LLC has proposed to construct a new concrete recycling facility in the city of Wayne.
All right, yeah, thanks for that quick summary. That kind of sets the stage for this project in the application. And we're going to have Reagan Roberts with Natural Resources Management is on the line, and we are going to unmute Reagan to allow her to provide her presentation and information on this project. Are you there, Reagan? Looks like you're unmuted on our end.
Hi, can you hear me, Ryan?
Yep, we can hear you. I've got your slides here. Just let me know when you would like them advanced, and I'll switch them for you.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to EGLE for setting this up tonight, and to all of those who took time out of their evening to join us. We appreciate it. As Ryan mentioned, my name is Reagan. I'm a wetland scientist with Natural Resources Management, and we prepared this application in conjunction with the engineers at Limnotech and NTH for the applicant to discuss the proposed concrete recycling facility as was mentioned. Next slide, please. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the proposed concrete recycling facility. We'll go over the site plans a little bit and some of the environmental considerations. We'll show you the proposed wetland impacts, as well as the plan to protect the regulated resources on site, and cap it off with a little bit about the proposed mitigation details. Okay, so as we stated, the proposed project is a concrete recycling facility. It is to be located at an industrially zoned property near the intersection of Treadwell and Van Born Road in Wayne, Michigan. The goal of the recycling facility will be to support local and regional road and infrastructure projects. Obviously, if you're in a city or nearby a city that's been developed for quite some time, eventually there will become the need to replace aging road and infrastructure projects. And so this concrete recycling facility will help do that. It's planned to contain an electric high-tech portable crushing unit with integrated controls for dust suppression, and that will be operated in accordance with the Air Quality Division's permit terms and conditions. At a high level, the recycling and reuse of concrete is both environmentally conscious and economical, and that's done in two primary ways. So when aging infrastructure has materials that need to be removed, if it is not recycled, that material typically goes straight to a landfill. And obviously that's not environmentally conscious or economical. But if you are using recycled concrete, that also reduces the need to mine for new non-renewable resources and keeps that material out of the landfill. And lastly, this project is also consistent with EGLE's Materials Management Division goals for both long-term recycling and circular economy sustainability. Okay, so first up, we have a zoomed in view of the prepared site plans on the right there. And I just want to point out some of the environmental considerations. So if you could focus your attention on the eastern side of the property, so that would be the right side of the image there. That's going to be where McClary Drain is located. No changes at all are proposed to the eastern portion of the site, so this will remain untouched by the project. If you look near the center of the property, in between wetland 3 and 9 there, that is where the crusher is proposed to be located. It is going to be 500 feet or greater from all of the nearby residences. And the conveyors that surround that crusher are to remain stationary. So at no time will they move over the wetlands or in any direction of the nearby residences. If you look around the perimeter of the property, there is also the inclusion of visual screening through berms. And just south there of where the crusher is located, we have the limits to commercial truck traffic. So at no point will commercial trucks be driving any further north than that on the site. And lastly, we've included a large buffer on both the northern and southern end of the subject property near the aquatic resources. Next slide, please. Okay, so we'll switch gears to focus on the proposed wetland impacts at the site here. So on the right-hand side, again, you have the site plans. The areas filled in red are the areas proposed to be impacted. As you can see, it's minimal when we're looking at the regulated resources on site. In total, the impact there is 1/3 of an acre. So the applicant was able to avoid 91% of the regulated resources on site. Next slide, please. The main takeaway from the presentation today that I would like everyone to have is that this application was prepared after a number of meetings with EGLE, as well as taking into consideration both US EPA and public comment feedback. We also did complete a formal impact analysis, and all of that was done to create these site plans in order to avoid and minimize both direct impacts and indirect impacts to the greatest extent possible for all of the resources on site. This was done through a number of ways. If we look first at some of the best management practices that were incorporated, these were taken from the Southeast Michigan Low Impact Development Manual. And some of the items that we included in the site plans were reduction of impervious surfaces, protection of sensitive areas such as the wetlands, the ability to revegetate any disturbed areas with native species. We've incorporated the use of bioretention and rain gardens near the southern end of the site. And then, as I mentioned, green buffers around the wetlands. In addition to those low impact development methods, we've also included wetland enhancement measures. And that includes invasive species control for some of the more degraded wetlands on site, hydrology monitoring and aggregate controls, which will preserve floodplain connectivity to the wetlands on site, and the placement of wetlands 10 and 11, which are on the east side of the property in conservation easements, so they will be protected in perpetuity. Lastly, we incorporated wildlife habitat measures, and that includes the use of wildlife-friendly erosion control and restoration materials. We limited tree clearing on the northern end of the site, and no temporary or permanent lighting of roadways, facilities, and parking lots. Okay, switching gears from the wetlands and the streams, we'll touch briefly on the floodplains of the site. A floodplain hydraulic analysis, both 2D and 1D models, were completed and submitted to the state. Basically, what these models do is they simulate a change in the water surface elevation between the existing conditions of the site and the proposed conditions. The 1D model ultimately found a 0.01 foot reduction in the predicted water surface elevation for the proposed design. And basically what that means is that the floodplain engineer was able to certify that the proposed project will not create a harmful interference based upon the results of those models. Okay, and finally today we'll talk a little bit about the proposed mitigation plans. The applicant has proposed two different options for this application. The first being the purchase of wetland bank credits. And so that will result in a total of 0.52 acres in credits or no net loss in wetlands. Secondarily, the applicant has also agreed, if necessary, to create wetlands on the actual site. And so you can see that image on the right there next to wetland 11. That's located in the southeast portion of the site, again along Treadwell Avenue. That area is currently being used as a residential lawn, which does not count as a buffer to protected wetland. So if they were to create wetland there for mitigation, it would result in increased floodplain storage, direct benefits to the McCleary Drain, and an increase in species diversity and wildlife habitat. And that is all I have for everyone tonight. Thank you again for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation and information, Regan. We're going to move right into the question and answer session. There's a couple ways you can ask a question. You can submit your question, use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So just type your question in there, send it to us, and I'll ask those questions of our panel who are turning their cameras and microphones on so they'll be able to answer questions. You can also click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen if you want to ask your question out loud or verbally. And what we'll do is we'll call on you, and then we'll unmute your microphone, and then you'll have a chance to ask your question. And then also, if you're on the phone, people on the phone can select #2 on their receiver on their phone. And what that will do is raise your hand in Zoom, and then we'll call on you using the last 4 digits of your phone number. One thing I just want to emphasize, this is a Q&A period, so if you have any comments or statements that you'd like to make related to this application, please hold on to those until we get to the hearing part of tonight's hearing. All right, so we're going to go ahead. I do have some questions in the Q&A box. So first question is, what is the barrier referred to? What will be in the rain gardens?
Am I still unmuted, Ryan?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
great.
you're unmuted.
Yeah.
You can feel free to answer if you
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
So any disturbed areas on site, as well as the rain gardens, will consist, like I said, of native species. So typically in rain gardens, we use what's referred to as hydrophytic vegetation, or plants that usually grow in wetlands. So those are beneficial to native species and the environment in that aspect, because they do traditionally grow in the region.
All right, thank you. Next question is, did you do a rare species review?
We
Yeah,
have,
Yeah, Jeremy, go ahead.
I mean,
Yeah.
yes, we do. We have our internal screening process for the application that we look at any state threatened and endangered species along with federal threatened and endangered species, and follow up with any necessary coordination with state agencies, DNR, for U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. What does no temporary lighting mean?
Yeah, Reagan, can you handle that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I saw that in the.
It basically just means that we're not going to have any overhead lighting or operations at night, and that's mainly done for wildlife measures.
All right. So there's a comment that someone noticed one of the slides showed visual screening berms on an area labeled wetlands. Wouldn't this be another disruption? Question mark. I guess. Do you want me to go back?
That would be part of the application and what's proposed as an impact as part of the project. If there's a permanent impact proposed to that wetland area, the regulated wetland.
Okay. All right, thank you, Jeremy. Has anyone been in contact with Buckeye Pipeline in regards to the pipelines running parallel to the proposed site?
And Reagan, can you handle that? We have no idea.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
That's not part of our review.
No, I'm sure the engineers that worked on it have taken that into consideration, but I just worked on the wetlands and streams.
Okay. What will the green buffers be and how will they protect the remaining wetlands?
So the buffers that are planned to be located around the wetlands that are within the operational limits are a minimum of 10 feet. And again, those will be seeded with native vegetation. They were expanded to greater than 10 feet where possible. And the buffers around the wetlands that are located outside of the operational limits will remain undisturbed. So the vegetation that's there now is what will stay.
Okay, thank you, Reagan. What is the rare species present on the site? And the second part is, if you do not know, please send the rare species review to the Wayne County Conservation District. Do we know what the rare species?
Yeah, I don't know about rare species. I mean, we screen for threatened and endangered species.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's what is being referred to.
Yeah, I mean, threatened and endangered species are afforded protection under that, under that act. Rare species are not.
All right, thank you. Is this a 24-hour facility? I should say, will it be a 24-hour facility?
No, it will have standard business operating hours.
Okay, thank you. Will the replacement wetlands be within the Rouge River watershed in Wayne County? Question mark. Wayne County? Question mark.
I mean, that's yet to be determined. You know, we're in the application review phase at this point. There is the mitigation proposal, which I believe is proposing mitigation credits within the watershed. But
All right. Oh, that's helpful. Thanks, Jeremy. Will Wetland 10 receive any protection via green buffers?
I mean, I don't exactly know I don't have the site plan
Do
open.
you mean to try to bring up?
Regan, my
Wetland
understanding
10.
is all of the remaining wetland will have buffers.
Yep, Wetland 10 is located in the northeast portion, the floodplain of McClary Drain. No changes are proposed to that area. So right now it's forested. So again, nothing will be happening there. And the applicant has also offered to place that wetland into a conservation easement to be protected in perpetuity.
All right, thank you. Is the 500 feet distance from private residences, backyard property lines?
I'm not sure what that question is referring to. Is there a 500? Oh, crusher 500 foot from residences.
Yeah,
I
I'm
see that.
assuming it means is there a 500 foot buffer from residences? I'm not exactly sure, but that's what it says.
Can you describe that a little bit better?
I believe it's the language that the city requires in their ordinance, and it's from any occupied dwelling is the actual language that they require.
Okay, from the dwelling, so not necessarily the property line.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right. It looks like we've gotten through a lot of questions. We still have a couple minutes left in case there are some additional questions. Feel free to enter them. And then somebody put a question, center of a roof. I'm assuming that was referring to the last question and the dwelling.
That's a question for the locals. I have no idea. She's asking where that 500 foot's being measured from.
I mean,
Private dwelling corner or private dwelling center of roof. We have no idea. We're not even aware of that regulation.
Okay, thank you. All right. And then if we've gotten to all the questions, the next step is going to be we're going to go through the other ways to make a comment tonight, because that'll be the next step, is to go through the hearing process where you have an opportunity to make a comment, but there are some other ways you can make a comment. We'll go through those. We'll also then start the hearing process. And then if any questions come up later, what we'll do is we'll be providing Jeremy's contact information in case you have any questions that come up. But I'm not seeing any other open questions. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to move on to the next part of the evening. And as promised, these are the other ways you can submit a comment tonight, or after tonight's hearing. You can submit an official comment via MyEnviro. We're going to put this MyEnviro link in the chat so you can access it there. And it's submission HQ9 NK05-0J1QH. So you can submit your comment there, or you can submit them by mail to Jeremy Richardson at the EGLE Warren District Office, P.O. Box 30458, 525 West Allegan Street, Deborah A. Stabenow Building, Lansing, Michigan, 48909-7926. So the P.O. Box all goes to Lansing, but it will get to Jeremy at the Warren District Office. And the comment period that you'll be able to make additional comments will be open for 10 days, which is going to be August 17th. All right, we're going to go ahead and get rolling. So, Jeremy, would you want to read the opening statement tonight?
Yes, I can do that. Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jeremy Richardson. I'm the district representative in Water Resource Division, the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy. I'll be serving as the hearing officer for this public hearing on EGLE submission number HQ9-9K05-0J1QH. With me tonight, they've already been introduced, is Pat Durack, our floodplain engineer for the Warren District Office, Andrew Hartz, the district supervisor for Warren District Office, and Ann Garwood, Wetlands, Lakes, and Streams Unit Supervisor in our Lansing office. To describe how this is going to work tonight, I will begin with some background information about why we are here tonight. I'll then describe the purpose of the hearing and how your comments will be used. Following that, I'll outline the procedures under which we will take your comments and then describe what will happen after tonight's hearing. It will then be time for you to provide comments, and we'll spend the majority of time tonight listening to those comments. At the end of the hearing, I will read the closing statement. By way of background information, the Water Resource Division is responsible for administering a variety of programs that help protect inland lakes and streams, wetlands, floodplains, sand dunes, and the Great Lakes. These programs regulate certain activities such as dredging or filling a lake, stream, or wetland, constructing a dam, constructing a marina, placing shore protection, or constructing docks and building in a designated critical sand dune area, wetland, or floodplain. The law governing those responsibilities is the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act 1994, PA 451 as amended. We are here tonight because Van Born Investments LLC has proposed to construct a new concrete recycling facility in the city of Wayne. The proposed activities include placing fill material in wetland, constructing 2 separate bioretention stormwater features, install an equalization culvert in wetland, install an equalization culvert with an attached agri-drain between wetland and the McCleary drain, construct a stormwater management pond, and to install a stormwater outlet to the drain with 1 cubic yard of riprap. Mitigation is proposed for the project. In order for a permit to be granted, EGLE must find that the proposed activities described in the public notice meet certain criteria set by Part 31, 301, and 303 of Act 451. In general, we must consider the effect of the proposed project on the stream and wetlands. When reviewing an application for permit under the provisions of 31, 301, and 303, EGLE is charged to make the following considerations as required by Section 301.06 of Part 301. 1, the department shall issue a permit if it finds that the structure or project will not adversely affect the public trust or riparian rights. The department shall not grant a permit if the proposed project or structure will unlawfully impair or destroy any of the waters or other natural resources of the state. When reviewing an application for a permit under the provisions of Part 303 Wetlands Protection, EGLE is charged to make the following indications as required by Section 303.11 of Part 303. Permit for an activity listed in Section 303.04 shall not be approved unless the department determines that the issuance of a permit is in the public interest, that the permit is necessary to realize the benefits derived from the activity, and that the activity is otherwise lawful. A permit shall not be issued unless it is shown that an unacceptable disruption will not result to the aquatic resources. And a permit shall not be issued unless the applicant also shows either of the following: that proposed activity is primarily dependent upon being located in wetland, or a feasible and prudent alternative does not exist. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to give anyone interested in Van Born Investments LLC an opportunity to provide information that EGLE can use in making the decision whether or not to issue a permit. Please recognize that EGLE can only use the information you provide if it relates to the criteria that EGLE must use in making a decision. Some of you may simply want to express your support or opposition to the project. We will be happy to make note of your position, but please understand that EGLE is, by law, not allowed to base our decision on whether or not there is widespread support or opposition to the project. In just a moment, I'll outline the procedures we'll use for taking your comments. But before I do so, I need to mention that the notice of this hearing was published in the Detroit News, the Detroit Free Press, freep.com, and detroitnews.com on July 25th, 2025. As we discussed at the beginning of the informational session, if you have a comment to provide, raise your hand in the Zoom bar to ensure that the hearing is conducted in a fair manner. We will follow these steps. First, the applicant and their consultant has already had the opportunity to describe the proposed project. Second, we will then call on those who have indicated in their registration that they would like to speak. After that, we will call on all those that raised their hand in their Zoom toolbar that they would like to make a comment if they haven't already been called upon. As a reminder, if you are participating in this hearing via telephone only, Follow the directions of the moderator on how to identify that you would like to make a comment. You may also submit your comments to EGLE via the MyEnviro portal, email, or US mail. When all comments have been completed, we'll ask if anyone else would like to make a statement. When your name is called, your microphone will be unmuted. As you begin your comments, please state your name and any group or association you may represent. Each person will be given 4 minutes to make their comments. We will indicate to you when you have a minute left. Please begin wrapping up your comments and end within the allotted time. If need be, we will indicate when your time is ended. I ask that we all be courteous and respectful to one another. Please also recognize that EGLE staff is here tonight to provide a fair opportunity for you to express your comments on the proposed project and to listen to those comments. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for reading that opening statement, Jeremy. Just to reiterate and expand on a couple things. As Jeremy mentioned, we have a list of people during registration who indicated they want to make a comment. We'll start with those, a list of 6 names, and then after we get through those 6 people, anybody else who has not made a comment yet can raise their hand. If you'd like to make a comment, we'll call on you in order. Also, it's 1 comment per person, and so you won't be able to make 2 comments or come back and make a comment. Everyone will have the same opportunity. And also, if somebody else is on the phone when you're making someone else is on the line or on the computer with you when you make a comment and they would like to make a comment as well, since it's 1 per person, just let me know that, and then they will have that opportunity to make a comment as well. Also, as Jeremy mentioned, everyone's going to have 4 minutes tonight to make a comment. You'll see a countdown timer in the upper right-hand corner of your screen so you know how much time you have left. And then when there's 1 minute left, you'll hear this noise, or this sound, I should say, which will indicate you still have a minute left, but to let you know where you're at with your time. You don't have to use all of your time if you don't want to. And I think we are about ready to start taking comments. All right, so the first person on my list, before we do that, if you're on the phone, you'll have an opportunity as well. Just select #2, and that will raise your hand in Zoom, and we'll call on you using the last 4 digits of your phone number. So you will have that opportunity to make a statement as well. All right, so first up is Connie Boris, and then after Connie is Cheryl Bowman. So Connie, we are going to unmute you. You're unmuted, and you can begin your comment when you're ready.
My name is Dr. Connie Boris, Executive Director of the Wayne County Conservation District, and we would like to thank EGLE very much for holding this public hearing. We will submit written comments on August 17th. The key takeaway of our message is that the applicant's numerous failures to comply with Part 303 are unacceptable, and EGLE must deny the permit application. The wetlands were not properly delineated. The applicant's consultant identified 2 soil types as non-hydric, when in fact they are classified as hydric by the USDA NRCS. And that is likely that means they incorrectly classified about 1/3 of the site as having upland soils, when in fact they are wetland soils. This lack of competence to identify the hydric soils on the site just makes the wetland delineation report absolutely useless, and it must be disregarded. The Conservation District had an independent third party called Natural Community Services conduct a non-trespassing wetland survey of the property. And one of its major conclusions was more of this site may delineate as a wetland than the EGLE map indicates. A full wetland delineation check is recommended. Next point, the rare and imperiled wetlands listed under Part 303 were never recognized by the applicant's consultant. That consultant failed to recognize the listed Part 303 rare and imperiled wetlands being the southern floodplain forest and the southern wet meadows. In addition, the wet mesic flatwoods were also not identified. So the destruction that occurred of these rare and imperiled wetlands were daily violations of Part 303 from March 31 to April 9th, 2025, despite daily urgent pleas from the Conservation District to stop the wetland destruction. The applicant should make reparation on a 10-to-1 basis for every acre of destroyed rare and imperiled wetlands. Next point, the remaining isolated wetlands, they're proposing to convert these essentially to water detention ponds to hold more than twice of the volume. That is going to totally destroy the aquatic habitat and the aquatic species that live in those wetlands that are now just basically going to become water detention basins. They will also accept a lot of contamination. High pH for one, that's detrimental to aquatic life. A high concentration of dissolved solids, sediment leveling. Also, that person has failed to identify, the applicant, that there will not be an unacceptable impact to aquatic resources. That was not done. For the Part 31, if I can just say this, current flood maps don't reflect the present or future flood risks. What needs to be done is you have to update or recalibrate the 100-year designation of the flood plan. So overall, let me just say the applicant's consultant failed to identify the hydric soils properly, failed to identify rare and imperiled wetlands that were destroyed that need to be they can't be restored. So just do a 10-to-1 mitigation ratio. And you really shouldn't be taking the isolated wetlands and converting them into surface detention basins because you're ruining the wetlands. All right, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comment, Connie. All right, next up is Cheryl Bowman, and after Cheryl is Nicole Marcotte. All right. Cheryl, look, you are unmuted on our end. You can select the microphone icon, which should unmute you on your end, and then you can make your statement. Are you there, Cheryl?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. You can begin when you're ready.
Thank you, EGLE, for holding this public hearing. The adjacent property owners and many others in the city and neighboring communities fully object to the destruction of the wetlands. Van Born investments will cause unacceptable disruption to the aquatic resources on the Van Born wetlands if given a permit by EGLE. The loss of wetlands may deprive residents of the state some of all of the following benefits: flood and storm control, wildlife habitat, including proposed federal endangered bats, protection of subsurface water resources, pollution treatment, erosion control, and sources of nutrients in water food cycles. Investments permit application is not in the best interest, best public interest rather, because the business plan includes destroying necessarily wetland vitality needed to control flooding. Southeast Michigan has record numbers of flooding instances where heavy rainfall has caused road closures, grounding planes at Detroit Metro Airport, and residential homes with basements flooding. The effect of the proposed business plan is almost certain to cause silica dust pollution, a known human carcinogen, and detriment to the wetlands and the McGlockry drain by increasing the pH, which is detrimental to aquatic organisms and causing silica dust depositism to smother aquatic organisms. EGLE's air permit may reduce, but will not eliminate this air pollution. Health studies indicate that dust particulates affect organs in our bodies, and the health risk to families breathing in silica dust is shortened lifespans. Used concrete has a high pH and contains tire anti-degradant 6 ppd quotine, and that causes fish kills, according to researchers. This high pH discharge has great potential to release into the McGlockry drain, which flows into the Lower Rouge River, killing fish and destroying fish and wildlife habitat. This project risks outweigh the benefits to the city of Wayne. The state risks the destruction of the wetlands is known to destroy any benefit the wetland provides to both the public and private sector. Wayne County has the highest percentile rates of cancer, respiratory illness, kidney disease, and other ailments in the state. Respirable silica dust is a byproduct of crushing concrete. Exposure to the dust and inhaling it provides a risk of developing serious silica-related diseases such as silicosis. The residents would like to see Van Born Investments seek to build their project on a brownfield. While the exact number of brownfields in Michigan isn't available, estimates suggest there are between 14,000 and 45,000 underutilized or abandoned properties in the state. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. All right. Next up is Nicole Marcotte. And then after Nicole is Sally Petrella. All right, Nicole, you are unmuted on our end. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yep, you can hear. You can begin when you're ready.
Thank you. I'm on the board of Wayne County Conservation District, a resident of Wayne County. I also live along the Rouge River, mother to 3 children who are going to be inheriting the environment we leave behind. I urge EGLE to deny all permits for the proposed concrete crushing plant at 37270 Van Born Road. At the very basic level, we as a county need to stop developing areas that include wetlands with fewer than 612 square miles remaining. As wetlands, we can't afford to lose anymore. So I'm urging EGLE to ensure that the applicant has explored all feasible and prudent alternatives to avoid adverse environmental impacts. Residents, as Cheryl said, just want to kind of reiterate this. Residents that live adjacent to the property have said that they do not wish for this development to move forward. A concrete crushing plant does not belong in an area surrounded by residential homes. It should be relocated to a designated brownfield site. Again, just kind of echoing what Cheryl said there. Wetlands absorb stormwater. I live along the Rouge River, and my family and community have been negatively impacted by floods in the past few years and storms as storms become more frequent and heavy. Although not downstream of this particular site, it is the precedent that matters. We need to stop destroying wetlands, natural absorbers of stormwater, and our best protection against flooding. In an age of rapid development, Wayne County cannot afford to lose more natural areas. So I urge EGLE to do due diligence in ensuring that the applicant has explored all feasible and prudent alternatives to avoid these adverse environmental impacts. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment, Nicole. All right. Next up, Sally Petrella, and then after Sally is Kim Thiessen. So Sally, you are unmuted and you can begin when you're ready.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Great. I'm Sally Petrella, and I've been a resident of Wayne County for 38 years. I've worked for the nonprofit organization Friends of the Rouge for 25 years. I urge EGLE to deny this permit for 4 reasons. I just added one. So Wayne County has lost 98% of its wetlands. We can't tolerate the loss of more. Mitigating wetland by purchasing credits in a wetland bank outside of the county and outside of the Rouge River watershed does nothing to mitigate the effects of this loss. I did ask the question about, where these credits would be purchased, and as far as I know, there are none available in the county or in the watershed. Destroying wetlands increases flooding, decreases water quality, and destroys critical habitat. This project does not depend on being in a wetland. This project will adversely affect the public trust by destroying wetlands. Second, a concrete crushing facility will only increase the already compromised air quality of the county. The effect of the Canadian wildfires has highlighted the situation since 2023, with days where Detroit has had the worst air quality in the world. Portions of Wayne County were designated non-attainment zones for sulfur dioxide because we are not meeting air quality standards. Adding more fugitive dust will only worsen conditions and force us to bear more particulate in our lungs, more asthma, and lung cancer. The company that's proposing this project has a long history of air quality violations at their other facilities. One of the reasons why they were recently denied a permit for a facility in Detroit. This gives me no confidence that they will be responsive and meet air quality standards with this new facility. Issuance of this permit is not in the public interest. Third, the additional runoff into McClaffrey Drain caused by this project will increase the risk of flooding in a high-risk area and into an already undersized culvert. Van Born Road, just south of this property, was identified in SEMCOG's flooding risk tool dashboard as high risk with a 3.8 vulnerability and 3.7 exposure score. In 2024, Friends of the Rouge analyzed the McClaffrey Drain culvert at Van Born Road as part of our DNR-funded culvert survey project. You can see the results in the DNR stream crossing dashboard. Calculations show that the culvert is undersized and is a barrier for fish passage. Increasing flow there from this project will increase the amount of flooding, threaten the stability of the culvert, and be a detriment to McClary Creek. This will impair waters of the state and adversely affect the public trust. And then my fourth point, what I just added, is the adverse effects to the Lower Rouge. This project can potentially adversely affect the lower branch of the Rouge River. The fish community in the Lower Rouge River is rapidly improving. We were out today, Friends of the Rouge was out doing fish surveys in Canton nearby, in areas downstream of the outfall where McClary Drain will go into the Lower Rouge. We had 14 species of fish, many intolerant species, including things like northern hogsuckers, northern log perch, yellow perch, Johnny darters, black-side darters. Those sensitive fish cannot tolerate more pollution. It's been so many years that lower branch has been so degraded, and it's finally starting to come back. Allowing projects like this that will have a detrimental effect on the lower branch of the Rouge River is inexcusable. Please do the right thing and deny this permit and protect our wetlands and waterways from impairment as you are entrusted by us to do. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Sally. All right, next up is Kim Thiessen, and then after Kim is Evan Rosen. So Kim, you are unmuted on our end. You should be able to unmute yourself and can begin when you're ready. Are you there, Kim? All right, looks like you are unmuted. You may need to check your audio source because we can't hear you. All right, I'll tell you what. Kim, we're going to go to the next person. We'll come back to you and see if you're able to get your audio working. Thank you. So Evan Rosen is going to be next, and then we'll come back to Kim. Evan, are you there?
Here, can you hear me, Ryan?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks very much. My name is Evan Rosen. I serve on the board of directors of the Wayne County Conservation District. Firstly, I'd like to thank EGLE staff for providing this public hearing and giving the community an opportunity to share our views and our concerns. I also appreciate all the efforts at mitigation and reduction. That being said, I do notice one very glaring omission in the presentation that was given, and that's that there was no discussion whatsoever about the alternative sites that were considered, how many alternative sites were considered, which alternative sites were considered, whether the applicant has demonstrated that there are no feasible and prudent alternative sites for the project. I noticed that during the presentation, the equipment at issue was referred to as being mobile. So I would imagine quite a few reasonable and prudent alternatives might exist. Mr. Richardson already mentioned Part 303, and more specifically Part 303.112B, the availability of feasible and prudent alternative locations and methods to accomplish the expected benefits from the activity must be considered. 303.114, a permit shall not be issued unless the applicant also shows either of the following: A, that it's dependent on being located in a wetland; B, that a feasible and prudent alternative does not exist. 303.115, if it is otherwise a feasible and prudent alternative, an area not presently owned by the applicant, which could reasonably be obtained, utilized, expanded, or managed in order to fulfill the basic purpose of the proposed activity should be considered. 6, an alternative that entails higher costs is not feasible and prudent if those higher costs are unreasonable. In determining whether such costs are unreasonable, the department shall consider both the relation of the increased cost to the overall scope and cost of the project, and B, whether the projected cost is substantially greater than the cost normally associated with a particular type of project. 303.114B unambiguously requires that any alternative, whether it is on-site or off-site, be utilized if it is feasible and prudent. And the department is instructed to consider off-site alternatives under 303.114B. Generally, ownership of the property is not generally a consideration in the alternatives analysis. Sites not owned by the applicant must be considered if they're available. The scope of the search for available sites is related to the specific project. For a typical project, it may be sufficient to identify appropriate parcels currently listed for sale. However, for a large project with major impacts, the applicant should make a reasonable effort to determine whether other appropriate parcels of land are potentially available. Piecemeal development of a site in an effort to limit alternatives to an on-site location is not consistent with the requirements of Part 303. EGLE should consider the type or category of applicant, whether it's a homeowner, a small business, a corporation, a government agency, and the overall scope of the project in evaluating reasonable costs. So all that being said, some of the previous speakers, who I'd also like to thank for sharing their opinions, mentioned the thousands of brownfield sites. We're at a time as a society where we really do have to protect even just the scraps, because that's really all that's left. So in 2025, in Southeast Michigan, it doesn't seem reasonable or prudent to me to put a concrete crushing facility on anything that's green. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comment, Evan. All right, Kim Thiessen, we're going to go back to you. You are unmuted on our end. Were you able to get your microphone figured out? Are you there, Kim?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. You can begin when you're ready.
Okay. Well, I have got pages of research that I've done. I know those folks know their business and you do about the wetlands, but I'm concerned about the students. Less than 2,500 feet, that cement facility is going to be from this elementary school. There will be over 586 human beings plus volunteers each day at this new school. There are children that are already suffering from debilitating health circumstances that will play on this beautiful lawn. And that dust will get all over it. In that dust, I researched the NIH, National Institute of Health. Where is it? There is cadmium, cobalt, copper, magnesium, iron. Let me see, there was another page here. Arsenic, nickel, and lead, heavy metals that rock crusher makes. That dust is so fine that it will spread all over that schoolyard. We've got students that are getting ready to start a school year. They play on that lawn at recess, after lunchtime, for however many minutes they have. Say lunch is at noon. They're going to go back into that schoolroom. And one of the things the NIH says is this stuff is absorbed through your skin, not just through your lungs. It'll be on their arms. on their faces, in their hair, on their ears. And they're going to sit the rest of the day in that classroom until 3 o'clock or somewhere around there. Then go home with those same clothes on and subject it to their families in their houses. That dust will get into the heating and cooling systems of the homes and into the air ducts of those homes. I know you call it investment, Van Born Investments, but it's Calo and Sons. And you know what? This guy here, he's my Kraken. He's my caveman. He's my dynamite. And if you have any conscience and any place in your heart, I'm sorry about the fish. I love them. I love the bats. But I love human beings more than all of that. And those children are going to be subjected to that for the rest of the time that facility sits there. And there is so many residential houses that sit west of that facility that will be covered in that dust. And people are going to die because it gets into their blood, through their lungs, attacking their bones. This is going to be so much worse than COVID-19 or SARS in the long run. And who's going to pay for all that for those folks? Oh, the government and their health care?
Kim, you're out of time. We're going to have to move on to our next
Thank you.
commenter. Thank you for your comment. All right, so that completes a list of people during registration who wanted to make a comment, who indicated they want to make a comment. So if anybody else who has not made a comment yet and would like to make one, please raise your hand in Zoom. Just click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. That will raise your hand in Zoom, and I'll call on people in order. If you're on the phone, I think we had at least one phone-in caller, and you'd like to make a statement, you can select #2 on your phone. That will raise your hand on Zoom, and then we'll call on you using the last 4 digits of your phone number, and we will unmute you and you'll be able to make your comment. So it looks like we have one person right now who'd like to make a comment. Additionally, Kim Williams Gillen?
Guillen, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Feel free to begin when you're ready.
All right. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. Our previous Kim was mentioning how she likes bats, but she likes the humans more. And I want to make the pitch for bats and how important they may be in this situation. I am a Wayne County resident, but tonight I'd like to speak in my role in capacity as a bat biologist. I am an adjunct assistant professor in the School of Environment and Sustainability at the University of Michigan, and a conservation technician with the Washtenaw County Conservation District. Last year, in collaboration with the Wayne County Conservation District, I started doing some bat survey work in the area of Van Buren Township, simply listening for bats using ultrasonic microphones in residential areas along rights of way near wetlands. And while I obviously have not had the opportunity to survey this particular property, I'd like to let you know that within less than 1 mile from the proposed concrete crushing facility, I have recorded a variety of threatened bat species, including Myotis lucifugus, the little brown bat, which is threatened under Michigan's list, as well as considered endangered by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. I have recorded Nyctoceus humoralis, the evening bat, which is threatened in Michigan, And I have also recorded Paramyotis subflavus, the tricolored bat, which is both threatened in Michigan and proposed for listing on the endangered species list as endangered. Bats are highly mobile organisms who make use of a network of different sites as they're foraging. And so these little wetlands may very well be, and very likely are, part of the foraging areas of these endangered species and threatened species. And it may seem very minor to say, well, take away one little wetland, it's a tenth of an acre. But the impact on human populations and these communities that are nearby could actually be quite substantial. There's an emergent body of work, that research, that is demonstrating the ecological value of bats for human communities here in the Midwest, such that in areas where bat populations have declined, we've seen and been demonstrated an increase in use of pesticides, and that's been linked actually to increased infant mortality within those communities as well. So removing those wetlands doesn't just affect local communities because of the flood risk or because nature is nice, but these bats in these wetlands are providing vital ecosystem services, and taking them away and then mitigating it by creating wetlands faraway, really removing a credible resource for the local communities in that area. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment, Kim. All right. Is there anybody else who has not made a comment yet and would like to make a comment tonight? I'll give it a couple minutes here, or a couple seconds, few brief period of time, and give you an opportunity to raise your hand if there is anyone else. Again, if you're on the phone, you can select #2. If we don't have any other raised hands or other comments, what we'll do is go on to the next part of the evening, and we'll provide those other ways to make a comment in case you didn't want to speak tonight or ran out of time or what have you and would like to make an additional comment. We'll provide that information. And then we're going to provide Jeremy's contact information in case you had any additional questions, or in case we had a question that came up that we weren't able to answer. So we're going to go ahead. Still not seeing any other raised hands. So we're going to go ahead and close this hearing part and move on with the evening. So Jeremy, would you like to read the closing statement tonight?
Yeah, yes. Thank you for your comments and cooperation. We appreciate your interest in the proposed project and that you took the time to be here tonight. As indicated at the beginning of the hearing, you may submit additional written comments until August 17th, 2025. Following the close of the public comment period, we'll consider all comments received and make a decision on the proposed project. Just to remind those that may still want to submit a comment, those can be submitted using the MyEnviro portal by email or by US mail. The hearing is now closed, and thank you again.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. There was somebody did mention in the Q&A box about it being a Sunday, the 17th, when the comments are due. Can you clarify when specifically on Sunday, or when, what's the closing date as far as when we'll be reviewing them?
We would roll that over to the Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thanks for that clarification. Yeah, as Jeremy mentioned, you can submit by mail or through EGLE's MyEnviro system, and we'll be providing Jeremy's email and contact information in case there's any additional questions. But the MyEnviro submission number is HQN NK05-0J1QH for anyone on the phone, or by mail to Jeremy Richardson, P.O. Box 30458 at 525 West Allegan Street, Deborah A. Stabenow Building, Lansing, Michigan 48909-7926. And again, the comment period is until August 17th, but that's a Sunday, and we'll roll over to the 18th. All right, and then as promised, here is Jeremy's contact information. Jeremy can be reached at 248-763-1664. That's 248-763-1664, or by email to richardsonj1@michigan.gov, and that's spelled RICHARDSON J, the number 1, at MICHIGAN.gov. All right, before we wrap up for tonight, I'm wondering if you have any closing comments for us, Andy.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I appreciate all the EGLE staff that accompanied us tonight for this hearing. This has been a contentious project for us for a couple of years here, at least. Having people comment and stay with it like this is important, and we appreciate people taking the time out tonight. Everybody who participated tonight will notify of our decision, and we're still completing our review. Probably do another site inspection, though Jeremy and I have been to the site many times over the last couple of years. We'll probably do another one here for this review as well. And encourage anybody to send a follow-up comment if they forgot something. That's why we keep the public record open for a little bit longer. So appreciate it. Thank you, Ryan and Jim, for helping us remotely. You guys make it seem easy, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. Thanks to everyone on our panel tonight, and for all of you for being part of this process. Last thing I'll leave you with is just a reminder that this hearing was closed captioned and was recorded and will be closed captioned and put on our YouTube channel in a couple days, so you'll be able to watch the recording again if you'd like. With that, thanks again, and hope you all have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good. Thank you.